And welcome back to the Short Vol Show Live. My name is Dave, and we have another day of a rally. This is expiration for the futures in the VIX. The front month future, the Jan future, did expire this morning. There was a little bit of sort of drama. There was a buy print came in at the last minute, so we did see the VIX kind of pop a little bit. Right during expiration, but really nothing compared with some of the fireworks we saw last year as far as expiration goes. VIX has come in a lot in the last few weeks, and so the question really is, does it continue going lower from here, or does it reverse and pop higher, or stay in the same place? It seems like if you've been shorted all the way down, then congratulations, but to jump on board and establish a short here seems a bit aggressive to me. If we take a look at the VIX chart here, we can see it's come all the way from up in the mid 30s down to where it is right now, which is 18. So if you look at the chart just to my left there, you can see as I move out of the way that it's come in a whole lot. So the question is where to go from here. It seems to be at much of a midpoint right now. And so I was short on the way down a lot, which was great. But here, I don't really feel comfortable staying very short. In fact, what I did was I added to a short put spread, I added a calendar spread, which picked up some long deltas for me and kind of flattened out my position. So right now, I am essentially flat deltas. That meaning if UVXY goes up or down, I don't make or lose money. I'm short a little bit of gamma, which means that if it starts to move one direction too far, then I start to lose a little bit of money, but I collect some money every day. And the reason that I put this position on is because, as I've said before, we've come down a lot. It's unclear where we go from here. And so I would rather not give up the gains that I made on the way down here. So I have this kind of short-term just position where I'm collecting some decay every day as long as it sort of stays in this area. So pretty much of a nothing position for me right now. But if you want to know technically what I have, I can show you right here. It's very small, but I am, let's see. I am long the March. I'm long the March 57.55 put spread, and I am long the Jan-Feb 60 call calendar spread. So the overall result, as you can see from my Greeks here, is that short 4 deltas collecting $15 a day. So not a whole lot going on. If I were to move this position forward in time a little bit, you would see that I'll slowly increase how much I collect per day. And since the calendar is centered around the 60 strike, as we get closer to that expiration, my short delta will turn into a slight long delta because we are below the 60 strike right now. But in general, it's basically just making the assumption that we will stay between here and like 60 for the next week or so. And like I said, it's pretty much just of a nothing position. Let's talk more, though, about the market and what to look for moving forward here. We have had this, of course, sell-off and then rally back. And as we've rallied back, there's been a lot of professional voices saying, this is a fake rally and don't be surprised if we move lower from here. But in actuality, what we have seen is just a sell-off and then a slow rally back. So there haven't been any surprises so far on this comeback in the market. Now, of course, that could change. But as usual, the market seems fairly divorced from external forces as far as at least from U.S. politics and all that. We had this government shutdown going on, but the market rallies in the face of it, and you could see the market as being kind of divorced from what's going on in the U.S. political system right now. It seems to me. I did find I was looking at Drudge Report today, and I did find an interesting article talking about this. A DEA officer that supposedly has stolen all this money. It was a pretty shocking story. Let me see. It looks like they moved. Well, Drudge Report moves where their articles are. So let me just search for this. DEA officer, or do you call it an agent? DEA agent in trouble. Okay, so here we go. Veteran star DEA agent conspired with Colombian drug cartels to launder more than $7 million. So this reminds, I don't know if you watched that show Narcos about the DEA agents, but this reminds me of those guys. But this guy's name is Jose Irizarry, and he's accused of conspiring with longtime DEA informant to launder more than $7 million in illicit drug proceeds, sometimes using an underground network known as the Black Market Peso Exchange, according to 5 current and former law enforcement officials. The officials described the case as one of the biggest black eyes in the history of the DEA, an agency that has seen repeated scandals in recent years and one they feared could have compromised undercover operations in the U.S. and South America. So I thought that was kind of an interesting article. Let's talk about some individual issues here. Of course, we've been following Tilray, and Tilray did indeed on the 15th sell off. And people, of course, said that that was due to the fact that the most recent calculation was that 8 million additional shares came on the market to be sold that day. That 8 million figure comes from subtracting all the shares that Peter Thiel's group that said they were not going to sell anything, subtracting that from the overall float that was supposed to come on the market, you get 8 million shares. And thus, we did actually see a sell-off down, I believe, 17% for Tilray on the day. So, you know, moving forward, okay, is that event over now? And do we move up from here? We'll just have to wait and see, I suppose, on the Tilray front. All the other MJs seems to be doing quite well. ACB, if we look at the chart, has had a nice rally. Canopy Growth, standout rally as well. A lot of these charts look very similar. Let's look at Afria. Not as much, but a little bit of a rally. So we're going to have to see if this market does indeed follow through. This is the chart of the E-mini for, I believe, 180 days. If we go to the 10-day, we can see that we continue to move higher slowly, and that thus the volatility coming in. The VIX, if we look at the chart today, it's been kind of all over the place, but I think looking at the chart in this context of looking at like a 20-day chart, you can see we've just slowly moved down, and thus there's been, you know, micro fluctuations from minute to minute, day to day, but the overall trend has been down, and that seems to be in place right now. We will see if it continues. It's one of these things where, like, the markets never go in one direction forever, and it seems like the E-minis have been going straight up and volatility has been going straight down for a while now. So in my mind, that trend has to, well, not that the trend has to break, but there has to be some pullback. There has to be some down day for the markets, and there has to be some at least retracement of volatility at some point soon. You can't just go straight up or straight down forever. So I'm not sure if, you know, if you're looking to either buy the market or sell volatility, probably this is not the best moment to do so, just because we've had so many sessions going one way in a row. Now, certainly it could continue to go like this, but I would look for a pullback to buy stuff or a a little pop involved to sell stuff at this point. Otherwise, you know, it's kind of putting a trade on now in UVXY to short is kind of a FOMO, a fear of missing out trade, and it kind of feels like chasing. So, you know, I put a little bit of a short on yesterday, and then I thought to myself, wait, you know, I could really be selling the bottom here in volatility, and I don't really want to do that. Thus, I flattened out my position because even if something were to work out where you're chasing stuff, I don't want to have bad habits trading. This is a new year for me, and I want to have good habits, and so I refuse to sell into a big sell-off when it, you know, UVXY has been selling off for how many days now? Just looking at this 10-day chart gives you somewhat of an idea. Let's look at a 20-day chart. You know, it's been selling off for so many days now. To put a short on right here in the chart just doesn't sound like sound. Doesn't seem like good strategic play. So, thus, I'm flat here, looking for a pop to maybe short more volatility because, you know, it's perfectly conceivable to me that we could continue to slowly rally and that volatility could continue to come in. But it just doesn't seem like a wise move to lay into it here. You know, if you miss the boat on the way down, accept that you missed the boat and wait for another opportunity. There's always more opportunities in the market, as we know. As far as the FANGs, if we look at FNGU, this is the leverage FANG fund. This one, the same thing. Jumping into a FANG right now after we've had this big rally off the bottom, it seems like you know, you're chasing returns. So I wouldn't get long right here necessarily, unless it's part of a plan where you're incrementally slowly averaging into a long or something like that, because it seems like you kind of missed the boat. You're chasing the past returns. It's like this guy turned me on to these two stocks, and one of them is GMLP and GLOP, and both of these had this huge pop. This guy turned me on to them down when they were down at the lows here, and they both had a huge pop. And it's like, well, do you really want to buy them now? The move has already been made. And so I've been facing a little frustration because I did get long when we were at the worst part of this market, and then we had this pop back and everything, and then I got out of it. So I made a little bit of a profit, but the question is, where do you go from here? Well, for me, a lot of it is just sidelines again, waiting for another opportunity, because it seems like we've kind of popped back from the extreme. When you do like a play where like one particular industry or something is way down and you just buy it, you're kind of bargain hunting, and then it kind of pops back to sort of quote unquote normal. Well, after that, your play is over and you have to move on to something else. So for me, a lot of the extreme plays where stuff was way down are over, and it's time to move on to something else. Take Citi, for example. I got long Citi, and Citi made an awesome move back up, but like, do you really want to buy it here at 62? You know, yeah, it was awesome to buy it at 50 and take a couple points out of it, but do you really want to buy it at 62? It's the same with like Goldman Sachs. Yeah, it's got good news. It's had this nice move, but do you really want to buy it up here? Of course, it could go higher, but it just doesn't seem like great strategic move to buy it up here. So that's kind of where we sit. A lot of this stuff could melt higher. Remember, to have the markets go lower, you have to have people who are determined to sell it and have stuff to sell and want to keep selling stuff. And that feeling might have gone away for a while now, and we could just drift higher. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who are frustrated who went to cash and then sort of quote-unquote missed the bottom here, if that was the bottom. And now it's like, well, what do? You get back in at not such great prices, or you stay on the sides, and that could be grounds for a slow continue to melt up here for the markets. So we'll have to see what's happening moving forward and what happens. But market seemingly in a better spot than it was a few weeks ago. Volatility has certainly come in a lot. And it seems to be where individual issues are starting to make news again. When the market is when there's sort of crisis in the market and everything is going down, everything goes within lockstep of one another. Now individual issues, individual stock equities are starting to distinguish themselves from others, and it's becoming more important which you pick. Which leads me to, of course, Guerrilla Trades. So check out Guerrilla Trades, who are excellent stock pickers. You can find links to them in the description. And, signing up for a year subscription, one good idea will pay for that year subscription. So check them out. I'm not a great stock picker, but they are. So check them out. What do I actually own right now? Well, I'm long ACB, Aurora, and I'm long the SPY in my long-term stuff. My long-term stuff is basically all SPY, a little bit of ACB, and some cash still. And then I have a small position on UVXY. So not a whole lot of stuff. I'm trying to protect my gains from earlier in this month, and moving forward, just being very careful. This is the slowest time of the year for my side jobs, as the one side job is basically off from middle of December through middle of February. So keeping stuff tight and trying to manage money very wisely right here for me. Love to hear from everybody. I'm having more time to be active in the Facebook group and other spots online, such as Twitter. So I'd love to see you there, and feel free to reach out to me to chat, because I'm approachable and willing to chat with people whenever I have the time. All right. Well, thanks for watching the Short Vol Show live today. It seems like this government shutdown moves on, but it's almost boring now in the news for people. But my hope is that things get straightened out, at least for my biggest concern right now is just getting my tax refund. I think people are worried about that, but it seems like they've straightened that part of it out, and that tax refunds will come on time. I know that checking out that I got my refund site, people's returns. Nobody's gotten a refund yet, but it appears that people's returns have been accepted, and that they have taken some refunds for a test batch, and which have been accepted by the federal government. If you look at this website, I got my refund, people's names have all of this information next to them, and most of these are from last year. So, for example, this person, it says date accepted January 19th, date approved February 17th. So a lot of people that are on this website, they haven't cleared out their stats from last year. So that's why you see all these people's stats saying that they received their refunds already. Nobody, as far as we know, has received their refund yet. We have received many reports, though, of refunds being accepted by the various companies such as TaxAct and TurboTax. So stuff appears to be happening, and we'll have to see moving forward. I will report to you when the first people do actually get their refunds, but we're not expecting that to happen before January 28th at least. Probably not into till like the first week of February at the earliest. So we're still a couple weeks out on that. People have been receiving their W-2s and getting their tax stuff ready, as I have been. All right, thanks for watching today. We'll see you next time on the Short Vol Show live. Bye.